bring in, as promised, Academy Award-winning documentary filmmaker Michael Moore. Michael, good evening.
Good evening, Keith.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is Rachel Maddow. Good evening, Rachel.
Good evening, Keith.
There's been a spike in the desire to own guns in Connecticut. Statewide, over 90,000 guns have been authorized for sale. You know how I feel about it.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Merry Christmas, my fellow Americans, patriots, boys and girls of all ages. It's incredible. I can't believe that it's already Christmas. Oh my goodness, where did the year go by? I got a Christmas story. It's, my daughters refuse to take vacations with me. and I got to share this. About 3 years ago, being from Tennessee originally, I thought it would be really neat to take the family up to a cabin up in the mountains of Gatlinburg, Tennessee. So, it was Christmas. So we were with the girls and Sandy. We load up the SUV, and, being a new SUV owner, I kind of bought into this marketing hype that if you bought the biggest wheeled, most powerful SUV that is out there, you would be able to go anywhere, right? I saw the commercials at going through the snow. So for Christmas 3 years ago, we take the SUV, we go to Gatlinburg. Well, Gatlinburg just happened to get hit. Gatlinburg, Tennessee, just happened to get hit by one of the worst ice storms. But of course, got an SUV. Gonna do it. 4-wheel drive. Lock it down. I'm from the north. Grew up in the south, but lived in the north long enough to lock the wheels down. And I get up that hill. No chains, mind you. So needless to say, we're driving up the side of the mountain, and we're literally, our cabin that we're staying at is at the very top of the mountain. The very top. It's pristine views, So we're driving. Girls are a little nervous. I'm a little nervous. But of course, I ain't going to let them know that. So as we proceed about the last 100 yards, there are a lot of switchbacks going back and forth to get up to this cabin. And these are pretty steep grades. So we're getting to the last switchback. Needless to say, we laugh about it now because we're all alive. Lose traction. Start sliding down the hill. Well, if you ever been in Gatlinburg or anywhere, where cabins are, they don't have guardrails. So as we're proceeding to slide ever so gently, as we start to pick up steam, one thing I did learn, 3,000-pound vehicle has this thing called momentum. So the next thing we know, we're off the side not off the side, but, we luckily we hit a snowbank. But the back end of the SUV, I laugh about it now, is teetering off the side of the mountain. So needless to say, at the Norton household, we don't do vacations. We did a sailing trip one year. It is not Christmas, but we did a sailing trip one year. And that was interesting. We're an outdoor kind of family. But I was talking to the girls. My family's coming in. I hope you're spending Christmas, the holidays with your family. Turn that off. But I hope you are spending a joyous Christmas holiday with your families. But the rule is the girls are going to have them for the holidays. They're going to be here. And I'm looking forward to it. Now, our oldest daughter, of course, she's in college and she has a family of her own, and we get it. But Sandy's going to head down there right after Christmas and spend a lot of time with the baby. But we have a rule. No more holidays in the Norton family. I actually tried to get the girls to see if we wanted to go up north to do a little camping. And my youngest daughter's like, no, Dad, because we'll get eaten by a bear. And so that's usually how it rolls here at the Norton household. So we're going to stay right here. We're going to stay here at the home. We're going to have a holiday with the family and just enjoy each other's company, not doing anything crazy. I hope you guys are doing that too. I wish you and your family a very, very Merry Christmas. And I hope that you have a very, very joyous holiday during this time of season. So, last night, on last night's show, tonight's going to be kind of we're just going to play it by ear. But last night's show, we had Karen Hooties joined us and talking about just incredible. She was a lead counsel, not lead counsel, but one of the counselor for the World Bank, the IMF. The people that I say are the enemies of the free world. It was a very interesting conversation. Now, we didn't agree on a lot of things. Well, we agreed on we agreed on most things. We didn't agree on the solution. And that's fine. If we agreed on everything, it would be a really, really boring world. So that's okay. But that's what it's all about. It's a conversation. But because of that, we had to, our normal show on Mondays, we want to turn those into Munition Mondays where we talk about firearms and stuff like that. But unfortunately, Tim got pushed back, and I do apologize for that. But tonight we're going to bring Tim on. We're hopefully going to have our conversation that we had yesterday, or we should have had yesterday. And I apologize in advance for the shift of time, the last minute shift. But when the former legal counsel for the IMF calls, especially on this show, I'm going to take the call because I want to know what the heck's going on, because I feel that they're our mortal enemy. It's like Chief of Staff of Barack Obama calling. I don't know if I'd take that call because they still drink the Kool-Aid. She was a whistleblower. So, but it was a it was a good show. Very, very informative. A lot of information. But with that, so we're going to get the show back on schedule. And with that, I know Tim is on the line. Tim, hey, how are you, buddy?
Good evening, Chef. I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I don't know if you heard that bit, but I was apologizing for our show getting, and I apologize to you about that. It was definitely a last minute deal, and like I said, is that I view the IMF, the World Bank, as our mortal enemies in the Patriot Freedom Movement. So I definitely wanted to hear what Karen had to say, and I do apologize that we got shifted, but we're here tonight. So I appreciate you coming on the show tonight and getting us caught back up, getting our schedule brought back up in order and stuff. So are you enjoying the holidays, my friend?
You haven't been to my website lately, have you?
I have not. No, I have. I barely have time to get to my websites. If you go to the Midnight Patriot website, we haven't updated. The shows automatically update because of the tool that we use, but the actual content, we haven't been able to update that. Well, I just haven't had time. Patriot FB has just taken over a tremendous amount of my day. Just getting that right.
I understand. I was just saying that rhetorically, because you asked about the time of year. To be perfectly honest, I haven't done anything at this time of year for a long, long time.
Okay.
Because of several reasons that I went into in an essay in one of the pages, one of the articles that I wrote on my website. And in a nutshell, for one thing, the commercialization of the season absolutely disgusts me.
Yeah.
And another thing is the way I put it on my website. For 2 weeks out of the year, everybody's all peace on earth, goodwill towards men, and the rest of the other 50 weeks out of the year, I think they're mostly self-absorbed morons.
I don't know. I want to agree with you on that one, but I was actually at Walmart. Just I had to pick up it's what they call basic talk for the phone system, and you can only get it at Walmart. So everybody out there flaming me, I don't shop at Walmart regularly. This basic talk product allows us to add more phone lines to our system. I was there. They were fighting with each other in the store. I mean, it was like I'm like you. I think Christmas is over commercialized. I think people are just complete idiots. And but I was in a store today, and it was crazy that they were fighting. They were opening up boxes, handing out. People weren't even waiting for the stockman to put the products on the shelves. They were taking them right out of the box.
Right.
And it was just like a bunch of savages. I mean, it's just
it is. It's in a way it disgusts me. In another way, it's disheartening to see how far our fellow man has deteriorated. Mm-hmm. But then, aside from all that, and I would much rather discuss my passion, shooting and everything. But I just want to say this. I have done a significant amount of research about my Lord Jesus and specifically the date of his birth. I've read the entire Bible, mm-hmm. as we know it, the King James Version.
Yeah.
I have believed in Jesus since I was 7. Having said that, what I have found is that my Lord Jesus of Nazareth was not born on December 24th or December 25th, according to our calendar,
yes.
or any date even close to that. As a matter of fact, as far as I can, to the best of my research, first of all, I also want to say this: it is impossible to pinpoint the exact date that he was born on. Having said that, according to my research, it's more like the end of September or beginning of October. That was the time frame in which he was born. And this is all based on what I've learned from reading the Word.
Yeah.
And having said that, I personally believe, now I have no concrete proof of this, I'll admit that, but I personally believe that because everything about his life here on earth was the fulfillment of prophecy, I believe that he was born on Yom Kippur, which happens to be the Jewish high holy day, commonly referred to as the Day of Atonement.
Yes.
That's my personal belief, because Yom Kippur falls generally according to our calendar. And the reason why I stress our calendar is because the calendar that we use in this country has only been in existence since 1539, and it was not accepted by the English-speaking world until 1735.
Yes.
Okay? You have to do a lot of research about calendars also to understand this, like I have. And so that's why I believe that he was born on Yom Kippur, because according to our calendar, Yom Kippur usually happens around the end of September or the beginning of October, mm-hmm. depending on other conditions that, you can find out. I mean, very easily.
Yeah. Well,
and that's all I'll say.
I mean, to your point, I think most, and I'm going to say this, not tongue in cheek, but I'm going to say this very loosely. Most educated or well-researched Christians would agree with you. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I've said for many times, and I've had these conversations even with family that believe, they believe, Jesus was born on the 25th. That's why we celebrate on the 25th. And I'm like, no, it's because of the Druid holidays, the Christmas tree, the solstice, all of those things. Most, like I said, and I want to say most educated and individuals who are willing to enlighten themselves in their own Christian, I'm a firm believer that if Jesus came back today and saw the perversion of his word and his gospels anyways, he would be disgusted with us. And I agree with you. The reason why I celebrate the holidays is because it's the day it's one day that nationally, but it's going away. I'm a firm believer too. In 3 generations from now, we won't be celebrating Christmas as a Christian holiday. We'll be celebrating it, and it's almost maybe 2 generations from now, the commercialization that we see today. So I'm going to take every chance I get to celebrate publicly. Jesus, I'm my Savior. I'm definitely I'm gonna take it. But I do understand your position. There's no, I absolutely get it.
Having said all that, my point, and this is how I ended my essay.
Yeah.
My point is that why just relegate that attitude to one day a year?
Yeah.
My position is that we should celebrate his birth and resurrection every single day.
Yeah.
Because that's why he came. He didn't have to come. That's the bottom line. He didn't have to do what he had to do, what he did. And he did that. And so therefore we should celebrate every single day. And that is why I have the attitude that I do. It's just hypocrisy, it's hypocrisy gone to seed as far as I'm concerned.
I got you. No, I mean, that's an excellent point, is that we should every day walk like her. So let's
having said all that, let's get to something much more fun.
Much more. Yeah, I mean, I like talking to the Bible, but yes, let's talk about guns. I love them.
I took it upon myself. You asked me, you messaged me what I wanted to talk about, and this is what I would like to say this evening.
Okay.
And that is that we can sit here or people can get together. I mean, now it's not just guys getting together; it's men and women getting together, and you can discuss this, this firearm or this or that piece of gear. It's like, I just got a new magazine in the mail today, and it's got yet another article on 1911s. And it's like, how many times do you have to write an article about a 102-year-old firearm?
Yes.
My point is that everybody gets all hung up on, I got to have this latest product or that latest gun or whatever. And they don't know doodly squat about shooting.
Yes.
And that is why I started the articles that I have started on my website, and I started with Defensive Handgun 101. And this has been, I have seen this time and time again up at the range that we're members at, which we will not mention on the air, but
the range with no name.
Yes, during when the range is open to the public, I have seen time and time again these people that they go there and they have trouble hitting a 6-foot square target from 100 yards off of a bench. And it's because they don't know what the heck they're doing.
Yes.
And that is my point, is that people need to start learning how to correctly use their firearms. I mean, I'll admit I enlisted in the Marine Corps when I was a young man because I wanted to learn how to shoot. And then I shot my first rifle match in 1980. And I was already a Marine. I shot expert in boot camp. And I thought I knew how to shoot. And when I shot that first rifle match, it was a very humbling experience. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
I did not, I wasn't last, but I definitely wasn't first.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I realized then that I still had a lot to learn about shooting. And that's my point.
Yeah, no, it's like, it's not like the movies. I tell people all the time. I mean, and you're probably going to laugh at you, even in handgun, when I'm out with new shooters in a handgun, I actually place the target at 7 feet. And they're like, well, that's so close. And it's like, yeah, but, but go ahead. Shoot.
Well,
and it's because that's the thing is that a lot of people think that they can just pick up a handgun. It's like the movies. They just, follow the basics and they'll be able to do it. And there is so much more involved. And like you said, there's so many articles and so many of this and so many of that and all this stuff. And it's just crazy. The amount of information overload. And you're absolutely correct. There's not enough out there on just the fundamentals,
Yes. And, the first installment of Defensive Handgun 101 was, I posted, I think I put it on the website maybe a couple weeks ago now, and that's part one. There's 3 parts to it because it ended up, I started out writing it, and it ended up being over 6,000 words long, so I thought I'm going to break this down into parts.
Sure.
I'm not going to put all this on the website at one time.
Yeah.
So the second part, which is kind of like the meat of the article, is beginning training, and I'm going to be posting that probably next week. And you're right in it to not, if any listeners want to, are interested, if there's any new shooters out there listening that they're interested, the article, the second part will be up next week probably.
Sure.
And you're right. That's what I recommend is you start out at 7 feet. And then I go into everything from there.
Yep. No, it's just so amazing. Like I said, is that you get guys and gals and like, I've done a lot of instruction myself, especially in handguns, not rifles, but in handguns. And, it's just, I can tell you the new shooters, I used to teach the course, it's called First Shots, which is a course, especially outside of Chicago. We would teach it at a local, mega store. I don't want to give their name out, but we would do these first shots, and the premise of that is anybody that's never shot a handgun or shot a firearm or a handgun, and so we give them a 3-hour safety course, and then we take them into the range and actually shoot one-on-one with them, and it's just, you get these guys that are out there like, oh, it's like, no, put it at 7 feet and let me kind of show you why. and they soon they pick up pretty quick. They get it. And I've always told people, start at 7 feet. When your groups are about the size of a Post-it note, then you move it, you move it an additional 10 feet, and there was a very well-known saying that I picked. I don't know where I picked it up, but it was in my training where, amateurs train until they get it right. Professionals train until they get it wrong. And I use that in my training. In my training is that I will stress myself until I make a mistake. And then when I make that mistake, I adjust. But you were in the Marine Corps. Now, when you were in the Marine Corps, I think you guys spent just one day as you're rifleman. I mean, the Marine Corps, I think that there's about a week of training with it. Out of all of the military, the military,
2 weeks.
2 weeks. So in all of the military branches, the Marine Corps, if you want to learn how to shoot, that's the branch you go to. Now, did you spend one day just pulling the trigger, dry firing, right? Is that part of the training?
Well, what I was in, which was well over 30 years ago now, I got out after almost 6.5 years in December of '81.
Mm-hmm.
After I became an officer, and I was an officer for a while, but I originally enlisted in '75, and when you go through boot camp, when you have your initial rifle training in boot camp, it is 2 weeks. You spend 2 full weeks at the rifle range. The first week is called grass week, and you do not do any shooting. You do not do any live fire shooting during grass week. You spend the entire first week in classes on marksmanship and classes on other stuff.
Yeah.
And you spend a lot of time, usually even though it was a long time ago, from what I remember, at least about 4 hours each day doing nothing but dry firing with your rifle. The drill instructors, they'll have you, they have places at, MCRD. Well, actually, if you go to San Diego, like I did, I was a Hollywood Marine. I went to San Diego, California. So if you go to San Diego for boot camp, then you have to go up to Camp Pendleton for rifle training.
Sure.
Where at Parris Island they have a rifle range at Parris Island. But anyway, usually what the drill instructors did was they take the platoon and divided this up into squads. Well, we were already divided up into squads. There were 3 squads in the platoon, but each squad would encircle this little kind of like, for lack of a better term, they were little mini targets on posts, and everybody would be all circled around this post at about 10 or 15 yards, just dry firing away for hours.
Yeah.
And then the second week you go to the rifle range, and each day of the second week, Monday through Friday, you shoot the actual course of fire, which is 50 rounds at 2, 3, and 500 meters.
Yeah. And
then that usually takes up the morning, and then the afternoon you're spending more dry firing time.
Yeah. And
so it's a total immersion into rifle marksmanship for 2 weeks.
And the reason why I brought that up, there is method in my madness, is I want the listeners out there, when you're getting is, you got to understand is, that is the program from the military. And typically when you want to do something, you want to kind of do what the experts are doing. So, so you got 4 hours of class. The first week, you got 4 hours of classroom every day. Then you got your dry firing, and you got all the different exercises that these Marines do before they even live fire. And it's very important that, so you, the amateur who've never shot a gun or maybe shot a gun every once in a while, if you want to obtain the level of expertise, and even, and that's just to get out on the range. It doesn't even make you an expert. You still got to qualify in the Marine Corps. That's just to get there. But what I'm trying to stress here is that that's the amount of work and the effort that it's going to take in order for you to just get started as a marksman. That by no stretch of the means is that going to make you a marksman. That's the starting point. It's kind of, it was funny. I have a real good friend he manufactures fine furniture. And I asked him, I was like, why is your furniture so expensive? And I kind of knew. He said, well, where most furniture companies stop, and they say we're done and it's perfect, that's where I start. And that's, if you want to be a marksman, that's where you start is, after you first do the initial qualified, you can hit the target at whatever range, then you start honing it. And, And I think it's very important that people, you're just not going to pick up a firearm. It's nothing like the movies. Nothing. There's nothing like the movies. So where do I start? I'm I just got my new shiny 30-06, my rifle. We'll talk about rifles. Got my new rifle, my new Savage or whatever it is, for Christmas. I'm going to go out and shoot. Where do I begin? Where does it begin? Where do I start, Tim?
Well, I would suggest finding somebody that knows what they're doing, and that's what I go into in the second part. There are a lot of what I refer to as armchair commandos out there.
Yeah.
And you have to really, what I recommend is finding somebody that you know and trust.
Yeah.
First of all. And then, like you said, see, there's a lot of people out there that they don't even know the 4 rules of safe gun handling.
Correct.
And I stress that also. As a matter of fact, I think that's the first. I'm sure, but that's the first part of the first part of what I already have posted on my website is 4 rules of safe gun handling. And I think any training should always begin with that. I just can't stress that enough.
Yep. And absolutely.
But you're right. You're right. My initial training in the Marine Corps was a start, and it was made very plainly evident to me when I shot my first rifle match after I had already, gone through boot camp. I was already a Marine and everything, and so I personally, when I lived down in Florida in the 80s, I had the opportunity on a number of occasions to shoot with the guys from the Army Marksmanship Unit at Fort Benning, Georgia, and that's where I learned a lot of the finer points.
Sure. That
eventually, I was eventually able to reach the level that I'm at, But one of the things they always stressed is they continually stressed, well, you have to focus on the basics. And but those guys, they shoot an 80-shot NRA, what's called the regional course, which is an 80-shot match at 2, 3, and 600 yards every day. That's what they shoot.
Yeah, every day.
Every day.
That's the key, and you get these guys out there that are shooting, you're lucky if you can go out and shoot once a month. I was going back to what you said, you hang out with people that are more knowledgeable and stuff than you. And, typically I'll hook up with Marines, with combat Marines and stuff. Those are the guys that I like to learn from. And there's a few at our range and stuff, but, going back to your point, and this might be new to everybody, I think it's very important, and you raised a very good point. Before you even think about picking up a firearm or whatever, you need to know the 4 rules. And for those that don't know what they are, because I know we have a lot of new listeners and a lot of new patriots out there, rule number 1, all guns are always loaded. I don't care if it's every gun is loaded. And that, believe it or not, that's one of the complaints I have with the Duck Commander guys. I was looking at a couple of their promo pictures, and they're holding these shotguns. There's a picture of them together, and I was actually going to write them and say, look, you need to do these because kids are going to think that they're going to see you doing that, holding a shotgun, the way that you're holding them, down at your feet and kind of with it underneath you. That's just not safe. So, but that's rule number 1. All guns are always loaded. I hear all the time, on the news, well, they were shot with an unloaded gun. Well, how can that be? They thought it was unloaded. Exactly. And then number 2, of course, never let the muzzle cover anything you're not willing to destroy. That's the one I teach my daughter. I just say, look, don't point that gun at anything that you don't want to lose. And when we were shooting down in our basement, we have a air gun. She had a bicycle that was down here, and she pointed at it, and I said, well, guess what? Your bike's gone. And it's a hard lesson, but you have to teach them that they, especially children. And number 3, the most important, well, they're all important, but this one, I find more people violate this one more than any other of the rules, is keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to, take the shot. It's amazing how many people I see that will put their finger, guns, believe it or not, most modern firearms will not go off if your finger's not on that trigger. I mean, I don't care. You can drop them. You can they will not go off. That finger's got to be, they go off when that finger's on that trigger. And that's one of the first ones, is getting people, especially new students, to get their fingers off the trigger when they're not shooting or when they're not ready to take the shot and everything. And even that even includes doing their sight alignments, getting their sight picture set up, keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to squeeze it. And of course, the last was always know what's beyond your target. Always know what's beyond your target, because it was amazing. That's one thing I love about our range that we go to, because we have a long range. And when you can take a 22, a little tiny, and I've done this a couple of times where I've shown people a little tiny 22 round, and sent it down range at 300, 400 yards and hit the target without they're just like, wow. That's just, they think that it's a small caliber and thus it's not going to go that far, but a 22 will go 1.5 miles under the right conditions. And it's just, and I actually do a physical, I show them that. And, it's just, it's just amazing. And to teach us. But those are the 4 rules that we're talking to. I just wanted to stress that while we had the opportunity to share that with our listeners. And and everything.
Very good. Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. I do have, as a matter of fact, even when in my first book, in the back, I have the 4 rules. In the back of my first book, I thought it was. I just thought it was necessary, even though it's a book on reloading. I figured, well, if the person's reloading, they probably have a firearm, and who knows, maybe they don't know the 4 rules, or maybe they've heard of them and never have actually, had somebody actually go through them. And so that's why I included them in my first book, and I included it in the first part of my article on my website.
Absolutely. I know that First Shots, the shooting federation, they would give us posters. Anywhere I have a firearm, be it at the shop, anywhere that I have a firearm and stuff, I actually have the NSSF, the National Federation of Shooting Sports, NFSS. I actually have that poster up, and because it's just got to become second nature for you. If you're going to have a firearm, you're going to shoot, those rules, they just have to be burned into your brain.
Yes.
It's just,
It's I phrase number 2 a little bit differently. What I always say is always keep a firearm pointed in a safe direction. Yes. Never point a firearm at anything unless your intention is to make said thing dead.
Yeah. Yeah, I use the destroy thing because I deal with, like I said, a lot of first shots. So when you tell children, especially younger kids and even adults, you say, look, you're going to lose it. That's why we use that. It works. I mean, it does. It does work. I'm so proud of my youngest daughter, because one day there was a guy that was in the shop and he had a firearm, and he pointed it at the door, and she got all over him. I mean, and this is when she was 12 years old. She was like, "Do you know what's behind that door?" And he was like, "Huh?" And she goes, "Do you know what's behind?" And he goes, "It's unloaded." And she told him, I mean, this is my 12-year-old daughter. It's like, every gun's loaded, and you don't know what's behind that door. So she's like, you can point it over here. Here's the safe zone. And she showed them where because we have
that's excellent.
Yeah. I mean,
that's excellent.
But we ingrained that. And you got to do you know, the problem I have is kids. I love training and teaching kids. It's the adults that I have a hang up with, you know. Oh, I know how to do this. I don't know how many times I've heard adults, I was in the military. I know how to do this. It's like, well, okay.
Oh, yeah. I've heard the same thing over and over myself.
Yeah.
I enjoy teaching children also because they don't have a bunch of preconceived notions, and their mind is like a brand new sponge.
Yes.
unlike a lot of males that think, oh, you know, I'm a man, I know how to use firearms, even though they don't, you know, in reality, they don't have a clue.
Yes.
You know, it's
well, I mean, even me, you know, I get schooled all the time. You know, like I said, I've got a good, I'll call him a good friend. He is a former, well, you're never a former Marine. He's a Marine. He was an instructor, you know, combat Marine. And I mean, every day I'm around him. And if I have a firearm or we're out, you know, shooting, or I haven't, you know, hanging out with him or whatever, I mean, he just the amount of knowledge that he instills on us is just incredible. You know, did you know this? Did you know that? Do you know how this works? Do you know how that works? Do you know why this was designed that way? And it's just, it is incredible. But I know there's a lot of adults that get upset with him because he is doing that and they don't want to hear it. They think they know it all. Well, I've read the art, like you said earlier when we started off this conversation. Well, I read so-and-so article. And that article, you know, it's like, I don't know. It is amazing. I love teaching the kids. And to be honest with you, you probably with the Marine Corps, there is I would say almost a 2-generation, if not a 1-generation gap. There used to be a time back in the 40s, 50s and stuff where the parents would take the kids out, the dad would take the kids out and teach them these things. And then, you know, our generation and our kids, the next generation, that is missing. So there's a huge void that we have to fill to get these young men and women trained and safety conscious. And that's why every chance I get to work with young kids, normally I charge adult. I don't charge. I just, you know, I work with them and everything. So we've got the 4 rules, the fundamentals. What do I do next? What's my next step?
I would suggest becoming a member of some range or something, so that you can practice on a regular basis. And like I said, find somebody who truly knows what they're doing and is not. You know, here's the other thing: there are a lot of people out there, you know, like myself, or a lot of this, you know, there's hundreds of thousands of Marines out there. But the thing is that not everyone is a good teacher. There's a lot of people, and I've seen this also, and that is that there's a lot of autocrats out there.
Gotcha.
And I pride myself on, it's like I wrote on I don't know if you saw my Facebook post a couple of days ago, I not only think outside the box, I threw the damn box out with the rest of the garbage in my life a long time ago. Yeah. And see, there's a lot of people out there, and there's probably a lot of good, you know, a lot of knowledgeable people out there when it comes to shooting, but their attitude is, well, it's my way or no way. My way is the only way to do this. And now I'm not saying that there are certain fundamentals when it comes to shooting that it's just the best way. Okay, certain fundamentals, like focusing on the front sight, for instance. There's no way of getting around that. That is one of the key fundamentals to shooting, is that you focus on the front sight. But having said that, beyond that, there's always different ways of doing things to accomplish the same goal. And I learned that from my 35 plus years of working as a carpenter and being in the construction industry.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. You're not gonna alter the mechanics. The firearm, they're gonna work the way they want to work, and they're the mechanics of it, and the, like you said, focusing on the front sight. And I've always, the three big things that I'm pretty a stickler for is obviously sight picture, which is first sight, trigger pull. You're not going to manipulate that trigger. It's going to go the way that it was designed to go. And so you've got to learn how to squeeze it in such a way that you're not torquing the weapon. And then your grip. Those things I'm pretty firm on. Like you said, but stance, there's so many different stances. There's so many, like, breath control, all that stuff, that the 7 fundamentals of shooting, but those three are the ones that I typically focus on with all students to get them in a good habit. I don't care how you stand, because typically in a defensive situation, you're not standing. Hopefully you're going to be running, you're going to be retreating, you're going to get behind a barrier, you're going to do whatever. So I don't really, it's great to practice those things, but I don't get into the Weaver or modified Weaver or the isosceles or any of that. I can care less. At that point, it's for me, I just tell people, stand at whatever makes you comfortable.
Right.
But let's work.
I go into all of that in my in part 2 that I'm going to be
Awesome.
Going to be publishing probably right after the first of the year.
Awesome.
I go into all that, but you're right. And there are different ways of doing things, and I cover that also.
Mm-hmm.
And I also probably after the handgun thing, I want to. I don't want to publish everything at once. I want to.
Oh no!
Keep people interested and keep them returning to my
absolutely
my website. I mean, that's why I started my online magazine.
Sure.
Like I said, like I stated in my mission statement, it's for education, entertainment, and information.
Sure. Nope, I'm with you. I mean, I agree. You gotta, if you number one, if you put everything out there at once, you're gonna kill yourself. Trust me, I know with PatriotFB.com when getting that up and running, I had to take a little sabbatical, but and you also got to give people time to digest the information and go out and use it and everything. And
yes.
Going back to, and I want to cover this, when you're seeking for new gun owners, there's a couple things that I gotta stress. Husbands, if you want to buy your wife a gun for Christmas, which is great, I highly recommend it. Let her go pick it out. Don't stay in the calibers, but let her pick it out, because the gun that fits your hand might not fit hers. And that's tidbit number one for those. I know it's a little late for Christmas season, but and then number 2, don't listen to the guys at the gun counter. I'm just a firm believer. Most unless you go to a pro store or a pro gun shop, that is a gun shop. But even then, be very careful of the advice you get, because a lot of those individuals, unless they're the owner of the store or whatever, they're salespeople, and obviously they're gonna tell you what they like versus what you might like, and so my thing is go out there, but more importantly, just you're gonna know when you feel the weapon, and go shoot. Go to a gun store that has a range that you can rent the weapon before. I mean, that's very critical, I think.
Yes.
You know, I you know.
You're absolutely correct, and as a matter of fact, that's what I covered that in the first part that's already on my website.
Awesome.
Choosing your weapon, and it's interesting that you bring that up, and I know there are, you know, when I was a young guy, there were very, very, very few women into guns. It was virtually the opposite. You know, every female. I even hesitated when I was a young guy. I would go out on a date, and you know, my date would ask me what I was into. I would almost never say that I was in guns.
Yeah.
For fear of, you know, the date ending rather abruptly, because that happened to me on one occasion. And so consequently, it's refreshing to see how many women have discovered firearms. And having said that, I recommend revolvers. And the reason why is because revolvers are simple.
Yeah.
Especially a double-action revolver. You get a quality double-action revolver, and there is no safety. The action is the safety. And as long as you follow rule number 1, you know, the 4 rules,
yeah,
you've got no problems. I get a big kick out of all these, you know, these alleged firearms gurus that write for these magazines,
yeah,
and they're always espousing about, you know, the advantages of this and that latest whiz-bang, you know, semi-auto.
Sure.
And the double-action revolver, the basic design has been around for well over 100 years. It's tried and true,
yep,
and that's what I got my wife. You know, I bought her a Smith & Wesson J-Frame 22.
Yep.
And that's what she has.
Well,
and
well, it's funny that you say that with a revolver. I mean, you know, you're right. I mean, there's been around forever, and if you ever have an opportunity to take a revolver apart, there's probably only about 7 moving parts in the whole
yes,
you know, revolver. Whereas if you get into semi-automatics and, you know, the Glocks and all that, I mean, you can be upwards, you know, to 40 different moving parts, and then you got the upper and the lower that are moving in conjunction. And I see, I tell you his story. I got a guy who is supposedly a good shooter, and I don't doubt that he is. He does a lot of league shooting, and he kept on telling me his gun was jamming up stovepiping on his 45, and he kept on having problems. We could not duplicate the problem, and finally I gave it to my buddy, who, like I said, who was an instructor in the Marine Corps. He took it to the range and he shot it. He's like, I didn't have a problem. But then it was funny because then he limp wristed it. He didn't, you know, he broke down in the fundamentals of his grip. And of course we were able to get it to stovepipe then. So it had everything to do with the way the person was holding the weapon, had nothing to do with the weapon itself. It was a Colt, had nothing to do with the 1911. It had nothing to do with the weapon. It had everything to do with the shooter. And you're
yes,
absolutely correct that revolvers will eliminate those types of malfunctions, which, by the way, are the most typical type of malfunction that you have with a semi-automatic. And I agree with you. Everybody should have a revolver in their arsenal. I have a few, to say the least. So I agree.
I am not. And I'm not afraid to say it. And I tell everybody this: I am not a fan of Glocks. I can't stand them.
See, and I was like you because I got my back of my wrist to, you know, as it came back because I got pretty meaty hands. I do like a striker fire pistol. I handgun. I do. I like striker fire over a hand. And it's preference. I know. But I just like the striker fire. So I actually shoot, believe it or not, my favorite gun, and I've owned a lot. The one that I carry is a 990 LE. It's the first 40 S&W, the first generation. It's actually a Walther frame with a Smith & Wesson upper with rail, and it's striker fire, and I love it, but it has zero safety, none. It doesn't even have a trigger safety. So it's you got to know what you're doing. You'll end up hurt. That's the rule. Keep your finger.
I went into that. That's why I don't like Glocks.
Yeah.
Because, and here's the reason why. Well, for one thing, and I pointed this out, I don't like striker-fired pistols, and I went into the reasons why. But the main reason why I don't like Glocks is because of that ignorant, and what I call it, that ignorant knob on the trigger. And then that is consequently, because of that ignorant knob, that's the reason why Glocks have atrocious triggers. And I am of the firm belief that a firearm should have a good trigger, if anything else. If nothing else, it should have a good trigger.
I'll tell you this. Most shooters, though, the gun, even the Glock in its worst shape, will still outshoot most shooters anyways. But I agree with you. The first thing I do, and I just got converted to a Glock not too long ago, but the first thing I do, obviously, is, that trigger unit comes out and I drop a ghost in there, and there's some customization that goes on there. You're right, but I do that with most of my guns anyways. But a person who's buying it right off the shelf, yes, it does have a different feel to it, but most people I don't think would know. You and I would know it because we shoot a lot. We would know, but most people wouldn't know what that. They wouldn't know the difference. It's not until
My personal preference when it comes to semi-automatics, if you really want to get into it, but my personal preference is the Witness pistols.
If you can get them.
I have a 9mm Witness.
Yeah.
And that's what I shoot for pistol matches myself.
Sure.
And I really like that pistol. It fits my hand well.
Yep.
And everything. And so that's when it comes to a 9mm, that's my personal preference.
Yeah. I love them. I like I like the Witnesses. I do. I like shooting. I like the MMPs. I definitely like, 45, my Colt. Obviously I've got a Colt that's tricked out and stuff, but, like I said, my carry one, I've had this weapon since 86 and, never had an issue with it. Never. Now I'm probably going to have to switch because the barrel, I put enough rounds through it, and I've been pretty rough on this one, and it's hard to find replacement barrels for this. So I've been out there looking. I haven't made a purchase yet, but when I'm not carrying that 990 LE, I am carrying my revolver, and I agree with you. I love the revolvers. They work. When you pull the trigger, they go off. There's no doubt about it. And
right. Have to. I mean, it takes a lot of.
Yeah.
We're talking decades of hard use,
yes.
And to wear out a revolver. I do know somebody who did wear out revolver. He wore out the action. He had to send to Smith & Wesson to have it rebuilt simply by dry firing it. He would sit at his, he would sit in front of the TV for hours every evening and dry fire his Smith & Wesson revolver.
Yeah.
He was on the Milwaukee State Patrol for 14 years,
gotcha.
From the mid-'60s into the '70s, and he told me that.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, yeah, you can. I mean, it's metal. I mean, so you can wear it out. But
right.
I've had revolvers. I've had Colt Gen 1s. I mean that it was funny. I had a guy. He was like, "Well, the problem with the Gen 1 is the fact that you don't you don't have the original box. And I kind of looked at him, and I'm like, really? And he was, and he was, it was funny because he was like, you don't have the original box. And I'm laughing at him because I'm like, they didn't ship in original boxes. They came in a crate, kind of with that funny looking straw paper and stuff. That's how they were shipped. They didn't have boxes back. They didn't ship these in boxes. And it was hilarious. Nice. But, and those things, like I said, that gun still shoots like a champ. I mean, you obviously don't shoot it anymore because it's, I don't.
Are you talking about a single action?
Yeah, it was a single action Colt. Yep. So it's, and I've had the Gen 2s and obviously the Gen 2s with the full sets, the 44, and those stay in boxes. They don't come out for obvious reasons. Those are retirement pieces. But before we digress too much and everything, so as we said, learn the 4 fundamentals. It's learn the 4 fundamentals. Get with someone who knows what they're doing. Get with a range. Go to your local NRA or your local range. Typically, and I'm just going to give you a word. If you want to learn from a shooter at a pistol range, now rifle is probably different. I'm just going to talk about pistol. When you go to the range, if you see a gentleman there, if you see a person, it could be whoever, and they have their case is a hard shell case, not a duffel bag, but a hard shelf case, and it's got a little binocular on it. That's the person you probably don't, obviously, when they're shooting, but that's the person you want to probably kind of watch what they're doing and learn from it, and possibly, if you can, get a conversation going with them, because those are individuals who are going to teach you the marksmanship. And then, of course, I would tell you, after you learn the marksmanship, to then move into like an IDPA where you can actually, do real life type scenarios and shootings and everything. And of course, go to Tim's website, go read the articles. And are you going to write a book? I just got to ask you, Tim, are you going to write a book on this one?
About
the fundamentals
about
shooting? Yeah.
I was considering it, but considering that my 2 books on reloading really aren't selling that well,
oh, wow.
I think I'm just going to put out information a little bit at a time on my website. I wanted to mention, in case since you haven't been to the website recently, I now have a couple of other contributing authors that I'm posting stuff on my website that they're writing. One of the authors is Boots Obermeyer, the barrel maker.
Oh, wow.
He has consented to write stuff and allow me to post it, and what he's writing is entitled The Machinist Corner. And then my Uncle Charlie, who happens to be quite knowledgeable about older stuff, is writing a little bit here and there. I have one article written by him posted, and that's going to be notes from old Charlie.
Wow. And for those,
he knows a lot about stuff from the 19th century, firearm related, and he can trace his lineage back all the way to prior to 1775 here in this country.
Wow.
And he wrote a little bit about that also in this first article.
Now your website address. What is the URL for the listeners so they can go out there to it?
My website is 1776men.com.
Yep.
1776men.com.
Yep. And
very easy.
Yeah,
that'll take you to my online magazine, and from there you can go to my homepage if you're interested in my books. Unfortunately, before I called in, I was on Amazon's website, and for for some reason, and I have to address this issue, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it in the next day or so. I'll probably have to wait until Thursday or Friday. But for some reason, Amazon has my books listed as currently unavailable. So I'll have to address that. If anybody, I have had a couple of sales through Amazon. I don't know if there was anybody out there who's listening tonight. Thank you. But clearly, my books are new. I mean, I have many copies available, and they're currently available, so I have to address that with Amazon.
Well,
but they are available from me also through my homepage.
Sure. Well, Tim, this is what we'll do. This is what we can do is at patriotfb.com, we have a marketplace. And since we're local, I mean, since, we're in the same neck of the woods here, we can handle I'll put them up there on the marketplace under books and stuff. And we're adding new members, and these, our Patriot friends out there and stuff, your book is exactly what they're looking, or what they'll be looking for, especially if they want to get in reloading. So we'll post it up there, and then we can actually handle all the transactions, and then I'll just hook up with you as we sell them or whatever, and then get them, and then we'll mail them out for you and help you get the word out, because they're outstanding books. I actually sent a friend of mine who bought a Dillon 650 about a month ago, and it's just sitting there, and he's like, I have no idea what to do, and he's local here as well. And I sent him out to buy your books, and I know he bought them, because when I was talking to him about a week ago, he's like, yeah, I'm reading the books, and these things are, he goes, I still don't want to touch it until you come over, Jeff, but he's been reading and studying up, so we'll get those, we'll sell those for you. I mean, we'll get them.
He must have, maybe he bought, no. The sales I've had through Amazon were down in Texas, so.
Huh. No, this was here. He bought them here. Well, the thing is, he travels. He's a lineman, so he does a lot of power stuff. So I don't know where he was at, or when he bought them. So, but I'll hook up. So that's 1776men.com. And for those that don't know, I just want to say, I mean, obviously you're an expert in reloading, but that's a major coup. The fact that you have Boots Obermeyer writing articles on your website. So for those that don't know, Boots Obermeyer out there is considered a highly respected barrel maker in the world. I can almost say that, in the world. People who shoot professionally know who Boots Obermeyer, and they know his barrels. He actually owns some patents on a lot of the processes that are being done in barrel making, and some of his processes are just incredible. I mean, I'm amazed that you were able to get him to write for you, and that's just, if you guys, these.
Well, I've known him. I've known him for 23 years. I've shot with him. Yeah. I've been to his shop, I don't know how many times. And I consider him a friend, and so and I'm on his. I'm on his machinist list.
Yeah.
You probably don't know what that is.
His machinist list? No, I don't. Is it?
Yeah, he sends out regular emails.
Oh.
Yeah. To his, to certain individuals.
Yes.
On his machinist list, and I'm one of them. There's 48 of us on his list.
Yeah, I have.
Jack Krieger is another guy on his list who.
Sure.
Who did purchase a set of my books, and he did give me a review, and that's posted on my website, also his review of my books. And I also know, I don't know Jack as well as I know Boots, but I do know him. I've shot with Jack also.
Yeah. Well, let's get some set, because it's an outstanding reference material and stuff, especially reloading and stuff. But it's just amazing that you got Boots. I mean, I've been trying to meet the man for quite a while, and through friends, and it just never really happened, never really materialized. So that's 17.
Well, you have to understand something. Boots, he does have quite a reputation, and he Yes, he does make a, and there's really no adjective that really describes perfectly the product that Boots and Jack Krieger manufacture. Like I said previously, I don't know if that was last week or the week before. You can't do any better.
Yeah.
You can't buy a better rifle barrel than one from Boots or Jack Krieger.
Yeah.
And so consequently, Boots does. I mean, it does take a while to,
yes,
to get to know him and everything, and because he's constantly, the poor man. For one thing, you have to understand something. He's 78.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And he goes to the range, and he's besieged by people all the time asking him questions.
Yes.
And
yeah,
so
exactly. And that's why I haven't pushed the issue to meet him. I figured in due time I will run into him, and kind of like, I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee, so I met a lot of country music stars, and one of the things you do is you don't rush right up to them and say, oh, I'm a fan or whatever. You just don't do that. And I've been trying to get my hands on a Obermeyer barrel for my 223 for quite a while now. And it's just one of those things where, I've got friends kind of like you. I know people that know him personally. And when they see him, it's like, hey, look, just if you can, grab me a barrel.
Is this 223 an AR or is it a bolt gun?
This is an AR.
Well, if you want a barrel for an AR, go to Jack.
Go to Jack. I haven't purchased a AR barrel from Jack. I've actually purchased. My buddy has purchased a barrel from Krieger, and he's like you. He swears by him. He does, and for me, it would just the fact to have. I will own a Krieger barrel. There's no doubt about it. I just haven't gotten around to it. Haven't built up an AR yet for me. For me, it's the nostalgia. It's the It's the fact that I just want to own an Obermeyer barrel. I just want one of my weapons to be an Obermeyer barrel. And
well, you have to then get one for a bolt gun.
Yeah.
I have a couple of his barrels. I have one on a 30-06 on a Model 70 that it shoots as well as my 6.5.
Yeah, no doubt. I don't doubt it. You know what? Actually, I've got that Ruger. That, it gave me a thought. Maybe I'll have to go to Sandy and see if I can get a little extra Christmas money. I've got a Ruger 1 that I need to rebarrel anyways. So let me see. So, well, we are bumping up against the hour. Actually, we're past the hour, my friend. And I appreciate you coming on, such late notice and after getting bumped and everything. So next week is Monday is actually the 30th. No, the 30th.
The 30th.
Are you up for the 30th?
Sure, why not?
Okay, so let's just do the same bat time, same bat channel, my friend, and I will not bump you. I learned my lesson. From
I listened last night.
Yeah,
I don't know if you got the message I sent you, but I've heard that woman before.
Yes.
On another talk internet talk radio.
Sure.
Program a while back.
Yes.
And my opinion is the jury's still out.
Yes. It was a great conversation, but then we divulged that, I'm a firm believer that we still got a long fight ahead of us. We haven't won Jack. We still got a very long fight.
I don't think so.
Yes, and I think that was the sentiment, but the information was just incredible and stuff. So, but we'll get back together next Monday, and I look forward to it. And I'll just kind of leave the topics open to you, my friend. If you want to talk about if you want to go back and talk about reloading, I think that's something, because we are at winter, and that's usually when most of the guys I know start reloading. So it might be a good topic to revisit, especially during the winter season. As we kind of, after the holiday kind of thing dies down. So Tim, I appreciate you coming on and joining us. But get out, for all our listeners out there, get out to Tim's website, 1776men.com. That's 1776men.com. It's also not only does he talk about shooting for obvious reasons and everything, but he talks about articles about current events, things that are going on, and essays, and it is somewhat of an internet magazine. So there's a lot of informative information out there. So Tim, is there anything else you want to add, my friend, before we call it an evening?
No, but if you wanted to get together soon, and discuss the marketing the books, I'd like to do that. I mean, but I would prefer to do that face to face.
Oh, absolutely. Let's do this. Let's, it's obviously kind of chaotic with all the kids and stuff coming into town for the holidays, and then Sandy's flying out to be with our oldest. So, can we schedule it, maybe the week after the 1st? We'll get together.
Fine.
We'll hook up on Facebook or at patriotfb.com and we'll get together. We'll schedule time. All right?
Okay.
All right, my friend.
Okay.
Take care of yourself. Bye now.
Okay. Very good. Thanks a lot.
It's just, incredible that the amount of information and the resources that we pull. So, Tim, like I said, if you want to get into the shooting business or not shooting business, but the shooting industry, the shooting sports and stuff, guys like Tim, these are guys that are doing it. I don't know if you heard our conversation last week. I mean, 600 yards hitting X's. That's the type of shooter. That's the caliber of the shooter that Tim and guys like him that we bring on the show are. These aren't armchair shooters. These are guys that compete in competition, who are experts and have a vast amount of knowledge, especially with like reloading in the shooting sports. And also, we'll get a link in the marketplace so you can buy his 2 reloading books and everything, and help support his efforts. I know that he said Jack Krieger barrels, incredible barrel maker. Also boots. I mean, these are guys that are known in the industry, that are endorsing and writing forwards and stuff. So you can only assume that Tim's book is outstanding, especially when it comes to reloading and the knowledge that he brings to the conversation. So with that, we got Stone Anthony's going to be joining us here in a few, and I think what we'll do is just kind of roll right into the next call, which is Stone. So if Stone wants to get on, and I think this is him right here. And hey, Stone, how are you, buddy? Stone?
Yeah, buddy.
Hey, how are you? I just blew through the commercials. Let's just go. And
I turned the volume down on the computer so I couldn't hear what you were doing. I was trying to call in, but it was busy.
Tim just got off, and I owed it to him and everything by rescheduling for last night for Karen to get her on and everything. So I just decided it's the holidays, right? We're all in the forgiving mood. So we don't have to, we don't have to play it by ear, or we will play it by ear. It's just kind of a crazy kind of wacky evening anyways, as we get ready for the holidays. I see that, Stone has dropped off there. So, join us on the website at www.patriotfb.com. That's www.patriotfb.com. And, of course, our other website, which is www.themidnightpatriot.com. That's www.themidnightpatriot.com for all the latest show and news information.
I'm back now.
Yep, I hear you. Can you turn down – you got your computer up?
No.
Oh, I hear an echo.
Checking to see where you were at.
Okay. Well, we're here. How are you doing, my friend? Are you ready for the holiday?
Oh, I'm all, yeah.
You better be.
If I'm not by now, I guess it's too late.
Yeah, I think you're a little screwed, my friend. So we got kids coming in and everything throughout the week. So this is going to be an exciting time here at the.
That'd be nice.
Well, it's, and this is so sad that and I'm so grateful though that we, our kids are all spread out through all the four corners of the earth now because they're growing up. The only other one that's still at the house is my youngest. So, but I don't want to say she's my favorite, but she's wacky like me. So but my other two are, away in college.
How old?
Huh? Excuse me?
How old is your daughter?
I've got my oldest one is 24. Our oldest, I should say, Sandy's our oldest is 24, and she's got a 1-year-old. Then my middle daughter is 17, and she goes to school in Tennessee, goes to college in Tennessee. And then my youngest daughter, obviously, she is 13. She just turned 13, and she is here. So I got 4 girls, and they're all spread. Like I said, my oldest is away and has her own family and everything in North Carolina, going to school there as well. And then my middle's down in Tennessee, and going to college down there as well. She, God bless her. She just, it's incredible. She actually did her junior and senior year of high school at the same time. So, yeah. So she graduated young, and now she's in college and experiencing life that way. So, what a crazy day, my friend. I think I got a good taste of what it's going to be like when it hits the fan. I was at Walmart buying another Basic Talk so we can hook up another phone line here in the studio, and it was like Armageddon. It was crazy. I mean, it was just insane. People weren't even waiting for the shop people or the store people to put things on the shelves. They were literally ripping them out of the boxes. And, but I know that's not what
I can't speak to that. I stay out of the stores.
You try to stay away from them.
At our age, we kind of know what they're like, but
yeah.
I guess if you need a new phone line, you have to go.
We're adding another one. That way we'll be able to actually, what's really cool about this new phone line is that you can actually call in and make requests on it, because we're going to be playing 24/7 music. And
right.
In this system, you'll be able to call in and actually make requests, which is going to be really neat. It's an automated system. So,
you know what I want to.
Yep.
I've been watching the different shows you've been bringing on, that kind of thing. The reason I was asking you about your daughter, I mean, is she interested in what you're doing, or I'm talking about the 13-year-old? Is she?
Yeah,
she got an opinion? Because
yeah.
One of the things I've been talking to folks about is getting, any child right now that's 15, almost 16 years old, can vote in 2016. Assuming that they turn 18. And, how cool would it be to, for the Midnight Patriot, to kind of jump on that that concept that I've been promoting, which is, start talking to our, our younger generation about the importance of this, this next election and what the Patriots are up against and this kind of thing. Obviously, most everybody that I know that have, 14, 15, 16-year-olds, they are pretty much, in the know of what's going on. But,
well,
schools are...
well, they indoctrinate. They have, obviously, their children, and I don't want to say children. I will have to say I'm proud of all my girls because they are awake. I can have a very meaningful conversation with all 3 of them. In this,
well, I'm sure you could. I was saying maybe if not your daughter, then if you knew somebody, or if there was a podcast out there where it was teenagers serious about their country in the sense of being aware of what's going on. Just to keep that conversation going between now and 2016, because I think it's important that they be involved.
Yes.
And so a show, if you somehow sponsored a show of some sort, would be kind of
that would be cool.
Kind of cool.
I've actually asked my youngest daughter if she would like to do it. The middle one, I mean, she's awake. She has a lot of questions and everything, but I don't think she would be interested. My oldest one is just too busy with the baby and getting through college herself.
Yeah, but the one that's 13 lives there, right?
She is actually. Yeah, she's here. No, she's here. And
she's there.
Yeah, with Hannah, she would actually. I hate to say, but she would. I don't hate to say it. She would be the best one. I've asked her if she wanted to do a show, a kid show or what, and she's like, nah. Who knows though? She might come around or whatever. But like I said, I'm very proud of the fact that I can have a meaningful conversation with my daughters, all of them. And,
all right, well, maybe it's not, like I said, maybe it's not them, but maybe
someone else
travels over the next few months. If the opportunity, presented itself, if I were you, I would jump on it.
Oh, absolutely. If you know,
I think that's an important thing because, one of the things that we as adults know, or those that are paying attention, is that in our schools, our kids are just not getting the education or the information about, either past events or, maybe even current events. As, most of us adults that watch the news, we know what our current events are being, how they're being given to us. So I can imagine that in school it's not very much different. So.
Well, I mean, you raise a good point, though. I mean, one of our missions, especially with Patriot FB, if there's anybody, it doesn't matter if there's anybody out there that wants to do a podcast or do a show, we will help them develop that show and get it out on the market, even to the point that we would offer bandwidth to them to help save money and get them off the ground. Now, obviously, we're not going to be buying equipment for people. You're going to have to buy your own equipment, but we can also help you with that too. We're, to get a good quality show up and running, it's a computer, a soundboard for $150, a microphone, and then you need some kind of a compressor for voice and all of that. But you can, for under $500, you can get a nice setup, and we would be, and that's something that JJ and I have been talking extensively, that we're more than willing to help people get those things off the ground. I've got a couple guys right now. Joe is, we're going to get him spun up. You,
yeah,
we're going to get you. You don't know it yet, Stone, but you're going to have your own show.
What's that? You're
going to have your own show. You don't know it yet, but you are going to have your own show.
Well, I would hope that people would want to hear what I have to say. I'd be all over the place. So when we travel together next summer, I look forward to being able to, get inside the trailer and sit down and, kind of recap the events of the day and that type of thing. I think that's going to be very useful to folks when we finally do that. But yes, I was really more or less just talking about, getting out the younger vote and making them a part of, what's happening, in this next election cycle, because I think that most people are feeling the thumb.
Yes.
And, one of the things I'm not, sure about, but it sort of feels right, is that this may be our last election, our last Democratic elected president.
I agree. I get that feeling too, that something is definitely going to, and with last night's conversation, I do agree that the government is doing things to force a conflict amongst its citizenry, be it the division that they do amongst, the blacks and the whites and the Mexicans and all that. They keep us fighting at each other, the gays, the non-gays, all the things that the government is throwing out there in their mainstream media to keep us at odds, so we're not focused on the true enemy, which is our government and everything. But I agree that something is definitely going to happen here in the next 2 years. And I actually believe that it's going to be sooner, because there is word we are hearing from people on the ground. These are not, before it was news websites, and I don't want to diminish from them, but these are not people that are out there that think that things are going on. These are people that are actually there, that are actually seeing them, and they are setting up FEMA camp and decontamination centers out towards the west. And I think that's all because of Fukushima. But, the government's definitely getting ready for something.
Well, it could be a number of things, or
yes.
It could be a combination of several things.
Yes.
But, you're absolutely right. I mean, if you are able to read between the lines and, extrapolate, pieces of information from larger sources of information, and, certainly video and pictures, say 1,000 words. The stockpile of militarized vehicles and things like that. And I'm not just talking about, the 1 or 2 MRAPs that are being handed out to, the 180 or so MRAPs that are being handed out to, the different sheriff's departments and stuff like that. But as you drive around, you can see, military equipment being, stored in ready condition in multiple locations all over the place.
Yep.
You used to be able, you would drive around and you'd ride by your local armory, and there'd be 1 or 2, sort of BDU type, painted vehicles.
Yeah.
But now you see, 10, 20, 30, 100 stockpiled there, and that's something new over the last couple of years. So, whether it's Fukushima or partially it's Fukushima or, some sort of civil unrest, but, our weather, our natural disasters and this type of thing. And you were talking about guns in the previous segment there, and, I happen to do a lot of reading and this type of thing, and my thing here lately has been, about Katrina and stuff like that, and how, the federal government with the state governments and, through FEMA and the state FEMAs and this type of thing. And, it was definitely a situation where they were confiscating, weapons from folks that were not necessarily affected directly by the storm.
Yeah.
Okay? They were survived it. They were fine. Their property had no damage, but yet they were going through those neighborhoods and they were, confiscating those folks' weapons. And, basically the end game there was that they knew that the folks were going to be coming, out of the disaster zones and trying to loot or steal or what have you from these folks, and they just wanted to make sure that they were disarmed. And I thought, wow, if they would do that during that type of an emergency, then they would do it, for anything.
Yep. And, absolutely correct. I mean, there's a ton of videos out there on YouTube that you can go out and, just type it in and you'll see. And it was various agencies. It wasn't only the sheriffs, but it was the federal government. It was the Coast Guard. It was, all sorts of different agencies. So the government can't say, well, it was just the sheriff who was overreaching. No, it was, it was.
These were National Guard.
Yeah.
These were,
well, then there's that classic video of the National Guard, the general that shows up on scene, and he's screaming at his National Guard, his soldiers, the fact that, that they have their M16s and they had their 50 on top of their Humvee or whatever, and he's screaming at them saying, these are American citizens, you do not, and it was incredible.
Did they relieve him of duty?
He got relieved of duty, though. Yeah.
Well, that's, he was doing the right thing, but, even the New Orleans cops were cutting, what do they call it? Cutting line and going home or something like that. Take care of their families and stuff like that. So, that was a hell of a time. And, I'm trying to imagine myself as, the leader of that effort and thinking to myself that, just from my observations and my memory from that time, I guess it's about 8 years ago now, I can think of about 14 things that I would have definitely done differently.
Yeah.
And,
well, look,
these storms are not like they just, pop up out of the Gulf of Mexico and jump on land. I mean, where exactly they hit is still a mystery until it actually does. But, you have days.
Yes.
When I say days, it's probably more like a week of knowing that something's coming this way.
Yes. General location. Yes.
It's just weird that it hits causes this devastation, and then it's 2, 3, 4, 5 days later is when the cavalry shows up.
Well, I mean, and you know, there's a lot of finger pointing there, and you know, whatever that the cavalry show. I mean, let's go to more recent. You know, look at the Boston bombing, the Marathon bombing, and the militarization of the whole city of Boston. I mean, instantly. I mean, literally instantly. And that's insane. You know, I know we talk about, you know, New Orleans and Katrina, but look at Boston. They were entering homes. They had the military vehicles there. I mean, look at the pictures of the MRADs that they had there, and the fact.
Well, why don't we call that what it was, Jeff? And my opinion, I think that Katrina was far different, because I do believe that was a natural type event that the government took advantage of. But the thing that happened in Boston, I believe that was just one gigantic training exercise.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. And so that's completely different. Now, how the citizens reacted, in other words, laying down and just allowing, you know, this. Well, I mean, we think it was a training accident. I mean, a training exercise. We don't know that, but I mean, looking at all of the evidence, it appears that way. But it's one of those things, Jeff. We have a hard time knowing how we would react if we were in the middle of a situation like that. Now, if you had your wife and your kids and you were, you know, living in you know, in the area there, how you would act probably maybe a little different. You know what I'm saying? It's not. It's hard to say what you would.
Well, I think this is the thing is that you know, everybody wanted these you know wanted these guys to get caught. So a lot of people came from the mindset of the fact that, well, we're helping the effort to catch these criminals.
Right.
And
that's how they. I mean, as far as the training exercise, I believe that they all walked away with A+ on all of their exams, because, you know, they implemented the initial bombings. They implemented, you know, the planting of those two individuals, and then they implemented the capture of these folks.
Yeah.
And just as a bonus, why don't we throw in there that they were headed to New York City to do the same thing? So, you know, that they were able to cover a larger area as far as instilling fear into the citizens.
Yes.
You know.
But then looking back at that, you know, they're going to do their after action reports, right? And they're going to do their high fives, and they're going to say, oh yeah, it was a screaming success. Well, now me looking at that going, well, wait a minute, if that happened in my community, they ain't coming through my door. I don't care who they are.
Well, I understand that. And again, I hear you. And I'm just saying that, you know, if you're just a regular Joe on the street, or a regular Joe in the community, and this is thrusted upon you, if you're not prepared, let's say you are prepared, but let's say that the majority of folks in Boston were not prepared for what took place over those 48 hours. Yet, you understand what I'm saying? So that's kind of, you know, the end game here. My message is that the preparation is the understanding and knowing what's going on around you.
Yes. And I'm a firm believer that we need to they just don't want us talking to Stone. But you know, I'm a firm believer that they want to keep us dumb. They don't want us to be trained, and that's why that's why I'm a huge advocate, obviously, of patriotfb.com, because the part of that website is not only, you know, the information piece of it, which is vital and critical ways of communication, but the other part of that process is that, you know, to get to the forums.
Well, they just don't want me talking.
They don't. You know what, Stone? You are the only person that ever happens to.
I think I'm the only one running for president too that talks to you.
Yeah, exactly. They don't. It's amazing because we do phone interviews.
I'm sure when Hillary Clinton calls in for her 2-hour segment with you, she'll.
Well, yeah, I can guarantee she's going to get hung up on.
By you?
Yeah, I can pretty much. Whoops, I'm sorry. Whoops, I don't. I just don't know what's going on.
Listen, I didn't. You know, as far as I think. What I'd like to talk about tonight, this is kind of a good way to kind of move into it, if you don't mind, which is, you know, talking about, you know, the military and how they are, hopefully going to be on our side when the poop hits the fan, and the Federal Reserve and that type of thing. But the Boston thing, the Katrina thing are kind of, part and parcel in a sense of what is the government doing to us, okay? What is it that what is their plan? What are they trying to do? Okay. And so, with yesterday being the 100-year anniversary of the Federal Reserve, and, you had that wonderful interview with that young lady last night, and, I think everybody that was listening, really, really super enjoyed the beginnings of that interview. So, and there was some good information there, and she seemed like she had some pretty good insight. So I think, to feed off of that a little bit, and if you read my position on my website, I'm not sitting here as a lay person, and to some degree she's a lay person also. I mean, let's face it, they probably keep those folks as, disassociated with everything, just like, they do with most, most governmental type things or most banking situations where, you only know what you need to know, okay? And so us as citizens, as far as the Federal Reserve is concerned, there's not a person walking this nation that knows what's going on inside the Federal Reserve, except for the people that are in the Federal Reserve. And then even then, it's probably kept at on a need-to-know basis. But so what I'm advocating for the Federal Reserve is not necessarily to end it or to abolish it or to get rid of it. It is simply for Congress to put up a vote that they retake control of the oversight, okay? And I think that right there is the beginnings of figuring out our monetary system in this country. Because let's face it, I heard what she said last night. We've got all the gold, and we've got money sitting in vaults, that Kennedy printed and everything. Well, if there is gold in this country to all of the 173,000 tons or whatever it is, then where is it? Who's got it? If the Federal Reserve has it, what did they do with it? Has it been used to pay off debts? We don't know where it's at. Okay. Is it at Fort Knox? I don't know. I don't think so, but maybe it is. Nobody knows. Do you know? I don't know.
Well, I mean,
I think Obama knows.
I do. Well, I do know this because it was reported. The gentleman who was with the IMF, the banker, I can't remember his name, who got caught up with that sex scandal, which later was found out that he was set up, and he was obviously let go. The sole purpose of the reason why he was over here was to do an audit, a gold audit of the gold that we had in our possession of, I guess, belonged to Germany, and he. They came out, the Fed came out with a gold bar, and they said, well, here's your gold. And he's like, well, wait a minute, where's the other X amount of tons or whatever that's Right. And they basically said, well, you can't see that. And he was supposed to go back the next day and report that basically he couldn't do his audit. It's kind of like us wanting to go into the nuclear facilities in Iran. He couldn't do it. And then, of course, lo and behold, he gets set up and gets these rape charges filed against him, and then of course that all got thrown out. So I do know that, but as far as where the gold is, I don't think it's here.
Well, we know that because that's what they want us to know, or that's what they've told us now.
Well, they didn't tell us. The mainstream media didn't tell us that. That actually came out through testimony and through you got to dig through all the crap out there, but that actually is what come out through the testimony.
Absolutely. But again, so the $1 million question is still on the table. Where's the gold? And so in other words, her plan last night, in theory, sounds really good. Okay, we've got our own money printed. We can now use our gold and silver to back it up. We got to find the gold first. Somebody's got to tell us where it's at. And because Congress does not have any oversight over our actual gold, deposits in this country, then, we're in the dark. Congress is in the dark.
Yeah.
You follow what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Exactly.
So I think her plan in theory sounds really good, except the only flaw is we don't know where the gold is. Okay? And as far as that money that Kennedy printed 50 years ago, I'm sure is no longer, around. So to get rid of the Federal Reserve in our monetary system, what we need is Congress to have oversight of it once again. It's been 100 years since they've done so, and then we can begin to develop a new, system that is, centrist to the American citizens. I don't really believe that the rest of the world is quote unquote relying on the U.S. dollar, okay, for their reserve funds. I think what they're relying on is the international bankers, keeping that story alive and keeping that thought process going, because it makes sense, right? It makes sense for them, not for us.
They rely.
So,
hold on. They rely on the U.S. dollar because that's what the World Bank says they got to trade their currencies in. They can.
I understand that, but I'm saying the U.S. dollar is no more, worthy than the yen or the ruble or whatever the hell.
Well, it's like I said, it's the World Banks are saying you got to trade in this currency. So you're correct, and I would actually go out there and say that the U.S. dollar is less stable than a lot of the other currencies that are available.
Well, it's certainly less stable to most Americans that I'm talking to every day. So, I always get the question, Mr. Stone, where are you at on, how are you going to implement this? How are you going to do this? And one of when we're talking about jobs in manufacturing, and I said, the first thing that we're going to need to do is we're going to need to walk away from the world economy. We're just going to have to do that. And that means several different things. That means stop propping up all these countries around the world, okay? They need to start fending for themselves in a sense of, if your country's not viable, then maybe you need to be absorbed into something else. I don't know. But again, I don't think we as Americans at this point in time need to continue propping up all these 180 countries around the world, not while our people are jobless and penniless and this type of thing. So simply walking away from the world economy, I guess to some degree the world government, and start relying on our own, interests, which in turn will bring back the manufacturing, because we're going to need to manufacture our own goods here, because that's truly how you're going to put people back to work. There is no other way. You can't build any more Starbucks. You can't build any more McDonald's and Burger Kings, okay? And we already know we're not going to start paying people $30 an hour to work at McDonald's. So those are not the jobs that are the answer to America's problem. And we've got to bring back manufacturing. We've got to bring back manufacturing. And, and we may have to make the decision that, our role in the world, as far as a superpower is concerned, how can you be a superpower if, 100 million of your citizens are not gainfully employed? You have a strong military, obviously, but even that, as we can see, is being whittled away at.
Yeah. No,
does Hagel want to do? Reduce it 20% over the next year?
Yeah,
next 5 years?
It's definitely being eroded, and it's going to continue to be eroded under this administration.
So as far as being a world power, now we're going to be a poor nation. We're going to have no military protection. Basically, we're heading down a road where, we're so weak that we're just ripe to be taken over or be conquered, if you will. Which, by the way, is happening simultaneously, with all the influx of, folks in the world that want to come here and set up shop, whether it be China City or, whatever. And I want everybody to keep their eye on Detroit. There's a reason why Detroit is happening, and I can't put my finger on it. But, there's a beautiful city with a beautiful infrastructure that's just sitting there basically empty. There's a reason for that.
Well,
we talked about this before, but I think something's going to be moving in there relatively quick.
I think they're, obviously, I don't think the reason is I think, how do I want to phrase this so I don't get it wrong. I think the cause and the causation is exactly the same reason. They're liberal policies by, they believe in the, if you go back to the Ayn Rand and Atlas Shrugs and stuff, they believe in this collective thing, and that failed miserably. Now, I also believe, though, that there are opportunists that are now going to capitalize on their failure. And I think that I don't think they were failed or intentionally failed so that the opportunists can come in. I think they failed because of their policies and their liberal agenda just didn't work. And now that they're bankrupt, someone's going to come in, and I believe the opportunists, as you're saying, could be China or some other country is going to come in and take over the manufacturing. I do see that. But that's a fire sale kind of. That's what happens to fire sales all the time. It just happens. Unfortunately, this is a city or municipality. The only thing that how do I say this? I'm going to offend people. I don't care. Where are they going to get the workforce? Because one of the problems with Detroit is that they have a dwindling workforce, an uneducated, non-technical workforce, and that's why.
Well, they'll bring their own. They'll bring their own with them. So it's not. Like I said, this is all. I don't want to say conspiracy theory, but I'm saying here is a city that is basically, available for lease or purchase or whatever, and it's just sitting there. So, and it's in bankruptcy now, and like you said, it'll be a fire sale. I think $20 billion right now, you could probably buy the whole city. So, anyway, that has nothing really to do with the Federal Reserve. It's just one more thing where we just don't seem like we have all of the information.
Well, it does. I mean, hold on. It does have a lot to do with the Federal Reserve, because the Federal Reserve, they issue out these. They buy Bitcoins, if you want to call it. They create money out of thin air, and they've created an environment in which the dollar has no value, and they created an environment in which the money's not going. The money that the Federal Reserve is pumping into the economy is not going into manufacturing. You hear about all this quantitative easing and the money that they're pumping into the economy. You and I as business owners can't go get loans. I don't care who you still can't get loans. But if I was a Wall Street, or if I was a manager of a hedge fund, or if I was on the black stock market, and I say the black market stock market, I'd get all the money I wanted to.
Part of my plan would be to vigorously lobby for Congress to vote to return oversight of our monetary system, which by our Constitution they should have control of it. They need to vote. They need to bring that back into their realm, and then those other things that you're talking about can be addressed at that time. But unless the Federal Reserve has some oversight of we the people, then things will continue.
But Stone, and I get your point. They do have oversight by we the people, and it's called the Congress. The problem is Congress is not doing that. They're not doing that job. And in the Constitution, it clearly says that the Federal Reserve shall, be oversight by the Congress. The problem is that for some reason the Bernackes of the world, the thing that irks me is that when you have people that, you go to Congress and Congress says, we want this or we want that, or we're going to hold you in contempt of Congress. It seems like no one in this administration cares. And the reason why they don't care is because, I guess I hope that if you're president and when you become elected president, the first person that sits in front of Congress and goes, I ain't going to give you that information. I hope the next phone call you make is to the U.S. Marshal or the Secret Service and saying, all right, they don't want to do it. We'll let them sit in jail until they do. That's the problem, is that you have – I wish I can go in front of a judge and the judge asks me a question and I say, I'm not going to answer that, and and walk out. You and I would be in jail. And that's in effect what Bernanke that's what all these guys do.
Yes, right you have to. I mean, you have to read the 12,000 pages of the Federal Reserve Act, and you have to understand that they have given themselves complete immunity. They answer to no one. So, I hear what you're saying about what our Constitution says, but you have to go back to 1913 and read the Federal Reserve Act, which was a law enacted by Congress.
All right.
Basically,
So what
So all I'm saying is what Congress needs to do now is, even though our Constitution says they're in charge of our monetary system, guess what? They still are, but they just decide not to do anything about it. They gave it to the Federal Reserve. So they need to rescind the Federal Reserve Act and the powers that they gave them as far as immunity, and there's no oversight and this type of thing, and they need to bring those back into Congress. So, I mean, that's where we're at with that. And until we can get Congress to do that, then the point, then the Federal Reserve will continue the way it is because it's law.
Yeah.
Well, we don't like it.
Well, the other part of it too is that these guys they're going to lose a major source of their funding for their campaigns. I mean, let's just call it what it is. I mean, ISA.
That's why we need patriots to be standing up right now and running for office, so that they're not purchased by all of this money. Listen, and I don't really want to go into campaign mode right at this point. I want to do it in about an hour from now. But the point is, you were talking about this earlier. I'm sorry, last night, and this type of thing. The stuff that what was her name, Miss Hughes or whatever she was saying, she was making factual statements in a sense of, this is what we need to do. This is where we're at. This is, it's already done. We've already got this. We've got that. We've got this. But the practicality of implementing that is zero. Okay, we're not just going to walk into Obama and say, you're not an American citizen. It's time for you to go. I mean, he's just not going anywhere. So, and there's no law enforcement. There's nobody on the people's side to make that happen. I mean, and trust me, better men than you and I have tried. As far as bringing suit and this type of thing, and questioning it, to no avail. So I mean, we just have to let that medical condition, if you will, just kind of run its course. And November 8th, 2016 is when that course will end. You follow what I'm saying?
No, I got you. I mean, I absolutely got you.
But now, if we don't unite as a nation, I'm talking about the patriots of this nation, and we allow the establishment to just stay in power, then it's just the same old thing, okay? And we're just going to be dealing with it for another 8 years, or, another 4 years. But let's face it, if Hillary Clinton gets in there for 4 years, she'll get another 4 years. And, that's why I said earlier that I think that the last true election that we could even possibly, have any hope of winning is November 8th, 2016.
Yeah.
It's not going to be November 7th, 2020, okay? Because by then we'll have 100% voting machines that are electronic, okay?
Yeah.
By then, hell, who knows?
I don't think you'll vote.
They may just, go ahead and declare whatever they're going to declare, and we'll all be living in, little concrete boxes out in, these camps that everybody's talking about. So, anyway, I mean, I don't.
Well, why don't we do this?
A good way to move into to how the military is going to help us. But
why don't we do this? Why don't got to take a break? When we get back, and instead we'll have you kick into campaign mode, as you say, and we'll talk about solutions. Let's do that. So right. I'm going to put you on hold, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll get back. So you're listening to the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. Join us on the web at www.themidnightpatriot.com or at our sister site patriotfb.com for chat and show information. You can also join us here live Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time.
Say that the country's done. They say that the stock market's gonna crash. They say that every single one of us is gonna let down while they walk across our back. But I'ma stand up. I'm gonna put my fists in the air. No, I don't wanna have to bring my guns, but I'll be ready if it goes there. But you can let down if you wanna. Turn your back in prayer, we can get her back on her feet, 'cause I believe she belongs there. So let's stand her up and brush off the dirt and dust. A Lady Liberty needs our help from every single one of us. But you can lay it down if you wanna, you can run away if you wanna, you can pretend that tyranny is totally okay if you wanna, you can play it dead if you wanna, get what they said if you wanna, turn your back on the country needing you right now. But I don't wanna, no, I don't wanna, but I don't wanna, no, I don't wanna. So let's stand up and put our fists in the air. No, we don't wanna have to bring our guns, but we'll be ready if it goes there, yeah. So let's stand up and put our fists in the air. No, we don't wanna have to bring our guns. No, we don't wanna have to bring our guns, but we'll be ready if it goes there. Ready if it goes there. Ready if it goes there. Be ready if it goes.
America, welcome home the brave. The brave men and women who serve their country are coming home. Home to their cities and towns. Home to their mountains and valleys. Home to their families and friends. Home to America. Some of these warriors are coming home with wounds you can see, and some with wounds you can't see, like post-traumatic stress disorder. Wounded Warrior Project was created to provide the support these wounded veterans need to ensure their return to America is well-adjusted and successful. But we need your help to ensure that our mission is a success. Help us honor and empower these wounded warriors. Contact us at findwwp.org. America, welcome home the brave.
Out of control spending. A government that no longer works for the people. Had enough? Then vote for Stone Anthony for president. Replace politicians with a citizen statesman. www.stoneanthony2016.com.
In a moment, cancer changed our lives forever.
At this moment, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is saving lives with pioneering research and care.
And will never have to pay St. Jude for anything, ever.
At this moment, she wants to be in her own bed.
I want to be back at school with my friends. I want to be outside playing.
Please take a moment and visit.
You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. You can join us on the web at www.themidnightpatriot.com or, of course, at our sister site, patriotfb.com. That's patriotfb.com, or live every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time. Now, a little programming note. Obviously, tomorrow is Christmas. We're going to take off. Now, we will be playing, though, music during that time. For those that don't know, we're going to be testing out our new music system. We did get approved for BMI and ASCAP licensing, so we are going to have music starting the first of the year, and we're going to try that out tomorrow. As everybody needs to spend time with your family, your friends over the holiday. I mean, I know we don't need to take a break. We got to keep pounding this message, but we need to spend some time with our loved ones, and tomorrow I'll be doing that with my family, as I hope you are with yours as well. Another program note is that all music that's played here is actually provided to us by Madison Rising. Go out to madisonrising.com. Take a look. They have two albums that are out. Highly recommend those albums. For if you haven't gotten them on your Christmas list or whatever, you can, when you get your iTunes card, which actually iTunes is one of the most, Walmart, iTunes, and Amazon is one of the most requested cards, but you can go out to iTunes or even Amazon and download the music or the MP3. And I highly recommend, once again, that you do that as well. So, as we were saying, earlier, we have Stone Anthony has joined us on the line. I'll say in the studio, but not yet. We're going to do that this summer. But on the line, we're just kind of talking, kind of wrapping up the season, and Stone's given once again his pointed opinions on a lot of things, and what he's going to do as president when he gets elected in 2016. And Stone, I saw that you dropped off. Did you get kicked off again, or did you do that?
I think I did that.
I'm telling you, they don't want you talking to us.
I don't think so. That's okay, though. That's okay. That means that somebody's paying attention, and
yes.
You know what they say: if they're paying attention to me, they're leaving somebody else alone. So I guess
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
We were talking about the Federal Reserve, which is, I think it, obviously, something that even you and most of the American people, we just don't have enough information. I mean, we know what they've told us, but I think we need more information, and I think that Congress needs to do their job, and they need to get back control, of our monetary system in this country, and I say, and until they do that, we're always going to be in the dark about, why things are, why the IRS has a seemingly an open-ended, ability to just make people's lives miserable. So, we have to, we need more information, but we're not going to get that until Congress does something. So we have to. 2014, midterm elections, we need these issues need to be talked about, and a plan formulated to be able to, find the right candidates that are going to, effectuate that happening. So
no, I'm a firm believer that this is all by design. And I was listening. I had an opportunity this week to actually listen to some of the conversations with the Supreme Court justices. That was outstanding. C-SPAN. Did you guys ever have an opportunity to get C-SPAN or whatever, besides the hearings and all of that stuff? They're running a series where they're actually bringing Supreme Court justices into auditoriums, and they're asking questions and answering questions and kind of giving their opinion. And one of the things that Supreme Court Justice Ruth Gator Ginsburg, that's a mouthful, Ruth Gator Ginsburg was asked, was the I can't even say it, the confusion, the way that ambiguous, that's it. The way the laws are written is that they're intentionally written to be ambiguous. And she agreed. She actually said that is one of the biggest problems with Congress right now, is the fact that the congressional members either are intentionally, and she even said this, it was incredible, and I need to get the clip because it's amazing that she comes out and says this. Apparently she just doesn't care anymore.
Well, but Jeff, can I interject something
go ahead.
at that point, which is, if you bring, and I'll put this challenge out to anybody that's listening. I'll give you $100 if you bring me a congressman or a senator that actually writes their own laws.
Well, exactly. Well, and that's why I'm saying you got to listen to this interview, because she goes into that. She says, number one is that and she clearly says, she said, these laws are actually written by the individuals or the corporations that are going to benefit from them, or they're written in such a way that they are intentionally ambiguous. Wow, I was able to say the word twice in the same couple paragraphs. But they were intentionally written ambiguous. Now her solution is, number one, is that these judicial, or I mean not judicial, but these congressmen who are lawyers need to either go back to school and learn how to write law, number one, or number two, they need to have committees that actually write the laws.
There's another misnomer, and I'm sure she didn't say exactly what you just said. In law school, you don't learn how to write laws. Okay, you learn how to use the law to benefit
but hold on.
Client. So,
but no, yeah. Well, I indirectly.
They don't teach you how to write laws, Jeff.
They don't have a law writing 101. But what they do have is that you know what good laws are and you know what bad laws are. And
well, how about this? How about we stop writing laws? I mean, let's also, how many laws were written this year? I mean,
it's
somebody
astronomical.
Yeah. Okay. And are these laws to benefit the American citizen?
No, every time they write a law is against the American citizen.
Exactly.
It's a diminish of your freedom. And the concern.
So I think what we need to do is we need to take a look at look at the USC code. My God.
Yeah.
You almost need a tractor trailer to haul it around.
Forget the laws. Forget the laws. Look at all the regulations. Look at Obamacare. 11 million. It went from 7,200 words or whatever to 11 million. The regulations. There is no one. I don't care who you are. There is no one that can read that and interpret that and be able to give us an opinion on it. There's just no one. And that was one of the things that Ruth Bader Ginsburg, that was her point, was it has gotten so far out of hand, and the Supreme Court is getting tired of it. I mean, you got that sense when you listen to this interview with her, is that they're tired of cleaning up Congress's mess, and hearing it was amazing to hear this come from her. And I've never really saw her in that type of, in that light before.
Well, once again, if you're a constitutionalist and you believe in the Constitution, well, that's,
that's your law.
Supreme Court Justice Ginsburg's opinion. The Constitution gives Congress, they are their own body of government. They don't answer to the Supreme Court. Now, they answer to the Supreme Court only when, Jeff Norton brings suit against someone or something or some, situation, and it rises to the Supreme Court. Then they can rule on the constitutionality of a law that Congress has, passed.
Well, and that's
Congress, in their infinite wisdom. I mean, because of the Constitution, which is a beautiful thing, everyone. Yeah. Congress can go back and they can modify that law to achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve, if it didn't pass Supreme Court muster, if you will.
Well, exactly, and that's the purpose of the Supreme Court is not. They're not there to look at every law. What they're there to do is to see if you have a grievance or if an individual has a grievance against the law based upon the Constitution. And
so where the problem is in this country, Jeff, and let's just tell everybody, and I'm sure your listeners already know because they're patriots, is that that totally just jumped right out of my head. But
well, the problem is this, and she actually pointed
out.
The
problem is this: I got to be able to finish my thought.
Okay, all right, all right. Go ahead.
No,
finish.
I lost it now. The Supreme Court is not there to hear, your case about, your dog, barks too loud in the middle of the night. In other words, the Supreme Court, when things rise to that level, it needs to be a constitutional issue, okay? And they need to be able to rule on that.
Yes.
And once they rule on that, then that becomes, the opinion that, everything else is based on. Everything else relies upon that opinion. Now, when you have presidents like Barack Obama, who are obviously not savory individuals, the people that like you saw the Supreme Court justice, he first tried to put on the bench. Okay, do you think that person was, a constitutional, lover, or somebody who thought that individual rights are inherent and and this type of thing? I don't believe so.
Well, absolutely.
Okay. So, over the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years, we've put some folks on the bench that, have an agenda. Now, you probably see that a lot in state Supreme Courts and federal judgeships and things like that. These folks have agendas.
Yeah.
They're trying to effectuate change from the bench.
Yeah.
Maybe some are good, some are bad. But what I want for our country is I want a judge that is going to judge based on the law, not on his opinion. I want him to base his judgment on the law. Now, a certain amount of common sense or a certain amount of free thinking, in that regard needs to go into every decision. But, if we as the people think that there is something unsavory about our government right now, and when Larry Klayman brings suit against, whatever it is that he brought suit against last week and supposedly got a favorable opinion, why aren't these cases being heard on a larger scale? Why aren't we able to put an end to it?
Well,
how is it that Barack Obama can be president of the United States and has never verified anything?
Yeah, I can tell you how. Now, number one, they game the system. I mean, in order for that case, all the cases that go to the Supreme Court have to go through the appeal process, the appellate process, and all of that. So they know that. I mean, we are now seeing, to that point, we are actually last week, the Supreme Court, or actually it didn't get to the Supreme Court, the Federal Court of Appeals came back and said, no, President, you have to provide your Social Security number. You cannot hide that because it is part and parcel involved in a lawsuit or a case that involves Social Security fraud.
So was your point also that
that is amazing, my friends. We just pulled out, we just talked about something, and Stone gets disconnected as he's going. So he's going to join back in because obviously they don't want him to weigh in on this. And, look, I'm a firm believer. I am a firm believer that there are powers that be, because we have conversations with a bunch of other
Well, we
callers.
started talking about Barack Obama.
Well, no, we were talking. There you go. They hung up. I didn't hang up on you.
No, I'm talking about whoever.
I know. And it's amazing. It's amazing that it's always you, and it's always your when we're having conversations, and it's amazing that when we were fixing to Southern, when we were about to have a conversation which actually needs to start happening, and we need to start waking people up to this, is that Barack Obama's Social Security number is alleged to be owned, or was originally owned, by a World War II individual, which, if that was the case, that cannot be a legal Social Security number.
Right, and once again, we all think that, we all see the evidence of that, but until a court rules. But
they did rule.
I think before we got hung up on the point I was asking you, or the point I was trying to make, was that it's going to bounce around our corrupt court system for the next millennium, and once he's out of office, nobody's going to care.
But I will tell you this: the federal court said no, you have to divulge it. Now, who's to say that they're not going to come back like they did with Fast and Furious and say, well, that's national security and we're not going to do that. But at that point, look, there's a point in which, one thing that we're all protected by, and it's this thing of equal application of the law amongst everybody. It doesn't matter if you're the president of the United States. It doesn't matter if you're you or me. The law applies to them. No, well, it does matter to them. But what we need to start doing is, equal protection under the law. Basically, the clause. What we need to start doing is start claiming that. We need to start claiming.
Yes, absolutely. We
need to start claiming. Say, look,
we definitely will do that.
Yeah.
However, we have to do that once we are back in control of our own destiny. Right now, this is the point I'm trying to make, and I before we got hung up on, I think I was trying to make to you, is that if he doesn't like the decision that this judge, they'll find a reason to get that judge to recuse himself and give it to another judge that will give him what it is that he's seeking.
Which will give him 2 more years, yep.
And 10 years down the road, if you dig into it, you're going to find out that judge's son or daughter got a letter that guaranteed them into Harvard or whatever the situation is. You know what I'm trying to say?
No, I got you. I mean,
equal protection under the law only works if you're playing by the rules. And we're, as citizens, we're expected to play by the rules.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
they have a different set of rules that they play by. And we need to stop with the blinders, folks, as citizen patriots, and we need to retake this government because it's way, way out of control.
No, I agree. I know that you're more ballot box. I'm more in your face when you see these politicians in the street. And I mean, did you see the one video where it was actually at patriotfb.com where a guy grabbed his camera and they had George Bush Sr. and George Bush Sr. walks into this restaurant and this guy just goes nuts on him. It was incredible. And that's what we need to do when you see these politicians out in the street. And I'm not saying get physical. I mean, do not get physical because that's what they're looking for. And then you're going to go away and they'll never see you again. But what I am saying is grab your phone and stuff and just get boisterous, get in their face, get in and tell them to say, look, and just go after it. You do not want to.
Well, how about but he didn't get any information from him, and he went. No,
you're not going to get any information, but it lets them know that you're awake, and then when enough people get awake, then it. See what? Look, when you and it's your whole movement is based upon this concept. If you get enough people, they can't stop you. And that's the concept. That's why we're trying to wake people up, to get them to sign your petition. We need 100. We need 100 million. We'd love to have 100 million patriots, right? But you'll take your 50 million. And if think about it, if you got 50 million patriots who are in your corner, you're going to be able to affect change.
Oh yeah, I made that statement last night. I said 2 million people can, make a statement, but 50 million people can make a change.
Well, look at GLAAD. Let's talk about Duck Dynasty. Look at GLAAD. They came out because of what Phil Roberts said and everything.
Yeah, I don't really want to talk about that. But I guess it's your show. So
no, but what I'm saying is that then you had all the sponsors like Cracker Barrel that came back and said, "Oh, we're gonna remove their items," and then everybody at Cracker Barrel, and I even wrote, and I called down in Tennessee, their corporate office, and I said, "Look, I'm a long time. I live in the North. I miss my home food." And I go to Cracker Barrel, but I will never step foot in a Cracker Barrel.
Yeah, but I have a total. See, I'm on the opposite side of that whole argument. And if you want to hear it, I'd be glad to share it.
Well, but my thing is, but enough people did it that Cracker Barrel came back and said, that was probably not a good idea.
Well, whether it was a good idea or a bad idea, I agree with you. It probably was a bad idea. But the First Amendment worked in Phil Roberts' case.
Yes.
He was able to say what he wanted to say, didn't he?
Yeah, he was asked.
He
was asked, and he said what he wanted to say.
Absolutely. So his First Amendment rights are alive and well. It works in America. Now, the corporation or the company that he works for, his employer, has what you call a morality clause that he had a right to sign or not to sign. He signed it. Okay.
Yeah, I got you.
And so, he agreed, and if you go online right now, I encourage everybody, go look up morality clauses in employment contracts.
Well, yeah.
And so if you want to be paid millions of dollars to do something, then there's certain things that, you just have to abide by. And if the wishes of your employer is that you not, disparage their brand or their label, come on, folks, I don't know.
No, I see where you're going with that. I do see where you're going with that. Is that?
But that's the bigger picture, folks. Yeah. His First Amendment, he was able to exercise his First Amendment rights, and he did so.
And to be honest with you, I don't think he had. Now let's back up. I don't think he had an issue with to be honest with from what I see from Phil and what I've seen on the show, he don't care. He wasn't getting his money from that anyways, and he's always been that way. So he didn't care what it was. Is that it was the other family members that said, "Look, we're not going to continue either without our dad." And
the problem therein lies is that if they don't, A&E is sitting exactly where they want to sit. They're going to own the Duck Dynasty. They own the Duck Dynasty brand. They're going to own the Commander. I mean, because they're going to sue them. Listen, doesn't mean I like it. Doesn't mean that I, agree with it. But I'm just simply saying that they're not, in a position to be saying, well, if he doesn't come back, then we're not coming back.
Yeah.
Each one of those individuals have a contract with A&E, and they're going to have to honor it or pay the
consequences. I got you. Hey, so we got about a minute and a half to 2 minutes, and then obviously I've got to do our hero for the fallen and everything. So well,
here's what I'm going to leave you with.
Yeah,
maybe
go ahead.
We can finish it up next week, and then maybe you'll talk to some other people between now and then. And that is, we have our military, and again, on the surface, it seems like it's being gutted. It seems like our best and brightest are being let go. Okay. What's going on there? We don't know. Okay, we can only guess. But at some point, some general, some leader somewhere is going to say, you know what? I don't like what's going on. And, at some point, I think that our military, between now and, and whenever, they need to start putting together a plan. So if anybody's listening, I think that our military leaders should be, considering putting together a contingency plan for what's going on, because the Department of Homeland Security is building an army that is separate and apart from our quote-unquote armed services, what we traditionally call the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard. The Department of Homeland Security is putting in place a completely separate, different army, and I don't know what the numbers are now, but I'm sure it's in the millions, okay?
Yep.
Whether it be citizens or, whatever. So
I'd
like to see where our military leaders are at. I know you've talked to a lot of them. So.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing, with what we can talk about on the air, what's held in confidence, and I just.
Well, we don't want to, if it's General Charlie, we don't want to know that he's doing something. But
no.
We.
So we got.
When you look at the Department of Homeland Security, it's hard to tell them a difference between them and the military right now.
Absolutely, and even your local PD and stuff. So, hey, Stone, I just want to take this time. Hey, you have yourself a Merry Christmas, my friend. We're gonna get cut off here with the network and stuff. All right,
have a good one, buddy.
Oh, you too, my friend. Be careful.
Merry Christmas.
Yep, Merry Christmas to you, Stone Anthony. I'm going to kind of talk over this a little bit, and I do apologize for that. But I just want to say, it's always a pleasure having Stone. Get out to his website, stoneanthony2016.com. Sign the petition. Get involved. Be part of the solution, not part of the problem.
Help shows strength, not weakness. To find out more, go to realwarriors.net or call.
Out of control spending. A government that no longer works for the people. Had enough? Then vote for Stone Anthony for president. Replace politicians with a citizen statesman. www.stoneanthony2016.com.
America, welcome home the brave. The brave men and women who serve their country are coming home. Home to their cities and towns. Home to their mountains and valleys. Home to their families and friends. Home to America. Some of these warriors are coming home with wounds you can see, and some with wounds you can't see, like post-traumatic stress disorder. Wounded Warrior Project was created to provide the support these wounded veterans need to ensure their return to America is well-adjusted and successful. But we need your help to ensure that our mission is a success. Help us honor and empower these wounded warriors. Contact us at findwwp.org. America, welcome home the brave.
We need a hero, someone to save us lost from ourselves and our own self-destruction. God only knows we need help. Looking for a hero, someone who cares about the future, not about themselves, but about the idea of America. We need a hero. This freedom is anything but free. What we have here depends on those who will fight for what they believe. When we stand together, there's nothing that we can't achieve. This nation of people one in the name of liberty. We need a hero, someone to show us the way. We need a hero who speaks for the people and what we have to say. We still believe this land of the free is still America.
You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. You can join us live every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time or on the web 24/7, 365 days a year at www.themidnightpatriot.com and also our sister site, patriotfb.com. That's patriotfb.com. Wow. What a night. You know, I to be honest with you, I was kind of like, it's New Year's, it's Christmas Eve, and all the, get to play a little Santa Claus tonight, but and everything. So I was a little dreading doing the show, but I'm glad I did it. I'm glad that we got out here and everything. And I just want to take this time to tell everybody a very Merry Christmas, and I hope that you. That you spend time tomorrow with your loved ones, your family, your friends, and that you participate in the holiday of Christmas. And as Tim said earlier, and I agree with him about the whole deal that Jesus was not born, and I think and on December 25th. That is not and I think most, and I use this this term, but most educated Christians know that. They're aware of that. But it is a time though in which the nation, the world, comes together to celebrate the birth of our Lord and Savior, and the date. And there is no exact date. I know there's theories and everything. So they picked this date to coincide because it is a holy time of the year for a lot of religions. And so they the powers that be chose December 25th, and it is somewhat appropriate because if you look at the celestial side of it, the fact that the shortest day of the year is now, we're coming out of that, and life is going to start coming back and from winter and everything. So I do kind of agree with the timing. If you were to pick a time of the year to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, this is appropriate. It's a dawn. We're coming out, we're growing, coming out of the darkness and stuff. So, but I just hope that you spend time with your family. I'm going to be spending time with mine in the next few days. We are going to be, some show changes. This week we're going to be doing a lot of rebroadcasts of shows and stuff like that. I don't get to see my daughters that much anymore. They're growing up so quickly, and I'm going to take this time to spend some time with them, as you should do with your family. Spend time with your family during these holidays. If there's any important news or announcements, obviously we will get on the air and we'll get those out to you. But I just want to say thank you. Thank you for, and we're going to talk about this for our January wrap up, for our end of the year wrap up show. Tell you some of the momentous occasions that we've had and everything. So, but right now, unfortunately, as we are going to be spending time with our friends, our family members, there are men and women of the United States military who are not afforded that luxury. They are serving in combat arenas all throughout the world, and they don't have the opportunity to be with their family during these holidays. And I ask that you keep them in your prayers and in your in your conversations around the dinner table and with your family members. And and I know when family gets together, it tends to be a little aggravating, to say the least, as we would say in the South, a little aggravating. But just remember that, no matter how bad you think you've got it, there's other individuals who have it much, much worse. And it is sad for me to talk about this next part when we talk about our military. There, we went so long for the month of December in which we did not have to honor the fallen. And, we got the list from the DOD yesterday, and, we just want to pay tribute to those who have paid the ultimate price for our freedoms. Regardless if you believe in the wars and why they're at war, you need to respect the fact that these men and women put on this nation's uniform. And it's a volunteer army. They go at moment's notice, at the behest of politicians and diplomats, to fight wars, just or unjust. And some of them don't come home. So as you're sitting around tomorrow and you're thinking about what you're grateful for during this season, and you're especially praying, most of you probably be the first time you step foot in church in all year, just remember these men and women who are not going to go home to their loved ones. They're home. They're home with Jesus. But there's going to be families. There's going to be, mothers. There's going to be fathers. There's going to be husbands. There's going to be wives. There's going to be children who are no longer going to have the gift of their parent in their life. And so I just, want you to remember that. And with that, we will start our tribute. Army Chief Warrant Officer Randy L. Billings, December 17th, 2013. Army Sergeant Peter Boyler, December 17th, 2013. Army Sergeant First Class Omar W. Corday, December 17th, 2013. Army Specialist Terry K.D. Gordon, December 17th, 2013. Army Chief Warrant Officer Joshua B. Silverman, December 17th, 2013. Army Staff Sergeant Jesse L. Williams, December 17th, 2013. Marine Lance Corporal Matthew R. Rodriguez, December 11th, 2013. Petty Officer First Class James L. Smith, December 11th, 2013. Wow. Another thing that we need to talk about, and actually, Stone, we were talking about this the other day. And I didn't bring it up because I wanted to kind of parse it out from our original conversations. I didn't want this to be drowned out by the honor of the fallen. But it goes hand in hand. In America, we have an epidemic, and we use those words, we use words like epidemic and all that, and everybody's, but we do. We have men and women who have returned from the fields of battle, but yet are still facing the wounds, still dealing with the issues of war. We have in the United States, and this is a travesty, and it's something that I know Stone has taken up we as well, with some of the other podcasters, we're in the process of doing some PSAs. And we're going to get those out. It's just timing with the holidays and coordinating the talent. But we're going to get some PSAs out. And these are nationally. We're going to offer them to any radio station and any organization. But right now in America, we have 22 men and women who take their lives every day, dealing with the issues of war. That's 22 men and women, too many. In this country, we cannot allow that. We cannot sleep. We cannot, rest. Knowing that right now we have men and women. I have friends. I have friends in Facebook. I have friends at Patriot FB. I have friends that I talk to on a regular basis that are dealing with PTSD. And it is a debilitating disease of war. And we as a nation need to address these issues. And I know it's so easy for us to shove them away, forget about them. I know it is. But until you see it firsthand and you see how it affects people's lives, families, mothers, daughters, husbands, wives, children, it is a gut-wrenching disease. And it is a disease. How it affects these soldiers. And when a soldier decides, and you got to understand, that tells you how powerful PTSD and these diseases are. Because a soldier, one who is trained to deal with adversity, hardship, mental anguish, they're trained. And when you see them buckle to this disease, and ultimately that they take the unfortunate final decision and they take their lives, it is a travesty. It is a travesty. And we need to wake up. And I'll say this. When a soldier has to wait 354 days on average to receive the benefits that they earned, not that they're obligated to receive, but the benefits that they have earned. But yet certain individuals, not I, but certain individuals can walk into a welfare office and walk out with free medical insurance and, free housing and food and all that. Do you not see the issue there? We need to get in our politicians' face and tell them no more. If you want to pick a fight in this patriot movement, that is the fight that I ask you to take up. If you can take up one fight, one argument, one point of contention with our politicians, that's the one I want you to take up. When you see your politicians, ask them, what are they doing for our men and women? Quote what I just said. Why is it that a soldier gets 354 days before they get the benefits that they've earned, but yet a person who does not contribute to society, and I'll say that I'm harsh when it comes to this. I'm not going to mix bones about it. They are a parasite on society. A parasite. Why do they get it in 30 days? Get in their face. Get confrontational. Let them know that you don't appreciate it. Get vocal. Every chance you get, post it on Facebook. Ask that question. Take up that cause. We have enough patriots that will take up the other causes. But if you only have one cause and that you can devote to, devote that cause. We need to start taking care of our soldiers, these young men and women. There's no excuse. None. I am ashamed for this country because of what we do to our soldiers and what we allow our politicians to do to our soldiers. It's amazing. You can call Cracker Barrel and complain because Phil or Duck Dynasty was taken out off the shelves. But you can't pick up the phone and call your politician and complain to them because there are soldiers going without the services that they need. I've always said that, we have a priority problem in America. We really do. It's time that we start getting our priorities straight. So that's why I wanted to have that conversation with you. And like I said, it's not my intention on this joyous occasion to bring you down. But I need to make you aware. I was compelled to tell you that. There's a force greater than myself that put those words in my mouth, and then thus you got to listen to. So take it as you want, but do something. Do something. But with that, I just want to tell everybody, thank you. This show, Patriot FB, the friendships that I've developed over the few months has truly been the greatest gift under my Christmas tree. As a father with kids who are grown up, we typically don't get a whole lot, right? But I will tell you the gifts that you guys have put under my tree through your friendships, through your conversations, through our laughs, through advice, through, all sorts of things. My tree, it's overflowing. It's incredible. And I appreciate every last one of you. Every last one of you. That's why I make it an effort on Patriot FB when you join to reach out to you and let you know. And if there's anything that I can do, or any of the regulars on the site, Joe and Sue and stuff, what we can do with JJ to kind of help, feel free to reach out to us. Unlike other tech supports where it's going to go in a black hole somewhere, we're here for you. So we're here for you. So I just want to kind of tell everybody Merry Christmas. For those that are listening that got children, you guys got some duties to do. Got some stockings to hang. I got to do the same thing. I am so grateful that I don't have to put anything together this year, which is outstanding. So, but just remember the true meaning of this time of season, Jesus Christ, our Savior. May God bless you. May God keep you. You will always be in my prayers, in my family's prayers. And may you have a very joyous holiday. Good night.